You go to Germany, you go to London, you go to America, you go to Great Britain. This is exactly what you're doing. A police officer stopped us on the way. He was checking what you're doing right now. I'm sorry, it's not going to take us anywhere.
All right, before he moved on, he talked about whoever does not have security top on their priority is not what's sitting on that seat as a president. Now, what's your mandate for Nigerians? Why do you think they will hand over their votes to you?
I mean, it's right, I agree with him. Our top priority is security. Nigerians need to be secure within Nigeria at this time, and they're not at all. You know about Boko Haram already, Fulani headsmen, and farmers are fighting, they're kidnapping. There's general crime everywhere. What probably he hasn't touched upon is that there's also deep-rooted corruption within our security services. Generals are ripping Nigerians off. They prolong these wars so that they can make more money for themselves and their families and leaving Nigerians vulnerable. What also we haven't talked about a lot is the welfare of these officers who are fighting and killing themselves on our behalf. How do you pay a soldier 56,000 naira to go die for you in a Boko Haram head territory? You are not motivated and incentivized him enough to even feel like, you know, the country thinks about him. So whatever they can duck, they duck. Whenever they fight for their lives. We also don't have equipments that are good enough to fight the kind of insurrection that we are faced with. Nigeria is still fighting Boko Haram with open banks. It's unheard of that you go to war-torn territories and Boko Haram head territories with armored personnel carriers. That's the only way you can. But in Nigeria, they are still using Hilux vans because the generals are awarding the contract. One unit costs about, I think, 25 million naira now in the real market, but when they do it for 50 million naira. So also training and also collaboration. There are a lot of people who would like to help us, you know, internationally and want to collaborate. They don't trust us, you know, because of corruption. To bring in help, you know, he used information technology. I was in Ilorin one day and we're using civilian drones. And the police people were begging us to give it to them. They don't even have drones. I have a drone that's less than 7,000 naira. It can travel 4 kilometers radius. What it means is that you can use that drone to even travel ahead of the police.
How about the ones we use in the Northeast? Are they sophisticated enough?
We don't have any drones in the Northeast. President Jonathan commissioned one. It never worked, and then they changed the paint, and Buhari went and commissioned it. I've never seen
the aircrafts and all of those are not good enough.
We don't have aircrafts that can fight the battles we need to fight. Probably the entire Nigerian Air Force is in possession of maybe 5 functioning, you know, aircrafts.
This is a nation.
It is a nation, and you have smaller countries around the world who can boast of 50, 100, and you have 198 million people to protect. It's not as if we couldn't afford them, but these army officers, you know, in the Navy, in the Air Force, are all making a killing. You heard about how they went to Ukraine and bought aircrafts that don't work. They bought tanks that had been rejected by other countries. So you don't have the capacity. So many of the jets we have actually don't have the capability to carry the payload we need to drop bombs. They just use them to scare Boko Haram. You see, they send the footage to me all the time. Oh, we just did the surveillance. They will see Boko Haram, they send the footage, they will see Boko Haram taking Okada, motorbikes running away. Nobody drops anything on them. And people ask this question even on Twitter. How do you see them and you allow them? Is this aircraft just for filming and live streaming alone?
And they know we can't.
And the Boko Haram know that we don't have it.
Exactly, that's the point. They know.
So it means that we aren't really fighting the war as we should.
Oh, no, at all. We're not fighting the war. We're fighting the war.
And then that begs the question of, some have said that we should restructure our security system in terms of not allow every decision made coming from the center. State governments should be able to also make certain decisions because they understand their terrain better than you saying make the decision at the center. What do you make of that?
I completely agree that we should have state police. I've lived in the US for 19 years. We have our own town as a police department, they call it. And they have more vehicles than half of Lagos. It's true. You know, they're always buying vehicles, and it's a town of less than 1,000 people. So after that, we have county police and then we have state police. The US doesn't actually have a national police. Their national police is the FBI. They don't wear uniform. and they get involved in fighting, of course, crimes that are national, international. Sometimes also have the CIA, but sometimes if the different police departments misbehave, the FBI will come in and take over. They come and investigate human rights abuses, and that's the way we should do it.
And is that part of your plan?
Of course, I'm in support of restructuring. I've always said that. But what I don't really fancy is the buzzword of restructuring and the proponents of restructuring. And
Why?
this is why you should agree with me. It's the same people who are proposing restructuring of Nigeria that 3 days went to Obasanjo's house and chose Atiku. Right? Do you understand the contradiction there? So you want to...
It's not a contradiction.
It's a contradiction because
Atiku is also proposing.
No, they have always said that it's a condition for them to even move forward. You understand? So Atiku is not going to restructure Nigeria for you. Atiku has never believed in restructuring, but he believes that it can help him win the election. That
you're setting.
Oh yeah, he believes that buzzword can help him win it. If Atiku was interested in restructuring, they had 8 years with Obasanjo to have restructured Nigeria. He had an opportunity in the 90s to have fought for restructuring. In fact, what I'm saying to you is that today, if Nigeria were to be restructured, Atiku will become a poor man because he will lose his business in Lagos, where he's in charge of the port and Port Harcourt. And this is where they make their money from an unrestructured nation and a dysfunctional nation.
So restructuring is just the populist that
yes, the problem, of course.
There's
to them, not. I mean,
there's no one who's currently in power who is involved in this corruption, who is going to willfully restructure Nigeria. Yes. They're just going to use it as a propaganda just to
get into office, and after they get into office, they will start telling you that they need a united Nigeria. They need a Nigeria, that Nigeria is not yet
restructuring. I'm coming to you, Dr. Felix. Restructuring is not to divide Nigeria.
No, it's not to divide.
It depends on who you're talking to.
For you, what's restructuring?
For me, right now, we talked about. I gave a speech in Abeokuta on restructuring. First of all, we can't restructure Nigeria at a time. You know, we may be doing what we cannot handle. The first part we need to restructure is the police department. If we can successfully restructure that department, I think it will help, you know, subsequently. Now we need to take power, like Sowore was saying, and give it to the states. If we give power to the states, not absolute power, we have the DSS who can take charge of the federal level and also go into the police force to find out if the state government is trying to resolve the power, maybe a governor wants to win the election because the power has been given to him, the DSS can get in and be able to destabilize them. Now, if we can successfully take power from the federal level and give to the states, I bet you many of these guys will begin to lose power. So first of all, where we should focus on restructuring should be the police force.
All right, now let's move forward. The emergence of former Vice President Atiku Abubakar as the presidential candidate of the People's Democratic Party was greeted with mixed reactions. But has this signaled a paradigm shift in the battle for Asarok? I'll start with you, Doctor.
Now, I'll say this, and I've always told people, I'm not a typical politician. People say I'm a politician, but I'm a usual politician.
What makes you unusual?
I'm a Nigerian who is just fed up, who is fed up, who is frustrated, who is tired of sitting down at home getting mad at people I see on TV, and we decided to take a trip. First of all, I would say, okay, I watched the PDP primaries. It was quite peaceful. I was glad there was nobody was shot. I was glad there was no chairs throwing like we see in others. But it is obvious what happened. We saw all the envelopes, $5,000.
Were you there?
We saw.
How did you see it?
All over social media. I mean, our phones. I can Skype somebody right now in India. We see everything every day. So where did they get the 5,000 from? If somebody say I'll just be giving $5,000 to vote, I mean, will you argue with such a person? Nigerians, we still need to wisen up. Selling our vote is not going to take over anywhere. 5,000, I agree, is a lot of money for so many people. But guess what? It's just for 3,223 delegates. There are people who are still going to sell their vote. A message we have been preaching, the man who is giving you $5,000, and I heard they gave a lot of people, which is in millions, do you think they're not going to recover their money? Do you call that true democracy? That's not democracy to me.
What is true democracy to you?
When people go to the polling vote and vote their choice. That is why we are advocating for debates. Let all of them come. Don't send nobody. Come, let's
We've been having debates for as long as one can remember.
Okay, I understand, but we need more of those debates. We need to be able to... there's one coming up now, November 25th, and I hope they all show up on the stage and don't act like, oh, they're just youth, they're just little boys. We cannot stand on the stage with them. Come and tell Nigerians what you want to do different, especially if you have been there for 4 years before. If you have been there for 8 years, what stopped you? Why do you think you can do it now? In my opinion, nobody who has been in power should be voted again. Let's try something else. Nigerians are clamoring for a change. Let's try the youths. Let's forget about this.
Let me quickly ask you this question before I come to Sowore. How has the reception been for your party?
Now, for me, as an individual.
Because people need to know your party, understand your party's ideology, and that's,
It's a young party.
All right.
If I may just go there quickly. Actually, was part of a party before, AVP. And for months, we built the party, we invested money. A lot of my guys were running offices, and all of a sudden, a day to the election, the chairman of the party said he's the one running. The owner of the party said, who is the pastor, said he's the one running. Both of them now are fighting for the ticket. Here I am, an aspirant. I'm looking for who do I struggle with? You. And the next day, they scheduled the convention to another location without disclosing the place. So, of course, the new party we joined, we heard about it, and he saw the way we were making. He was running, so he decided to step down and said, we're ready to hand over this ticket to you, and we joined them. The reception, I must tell you, especially in the north, I'm from the south, but we have a lot of supporters and strong structure in the north, and it's been very welcoming. As a matter of fact, it's one of the reasons I remain in the race. Because when I looked at how hardworking these guys were and how they're pushing every day, I said to myself, how do I face them and tell them I'm out of this? Because what I've seen in these few months, I hear Nigerian politics is dirty. No, to me it's not dirty, it's filthy. Nigerian politics is rotten, if you can use that word. It's not, dirty is another statement. I think whoever becomes the next president, you will have a lot of work to do when it comes
that
to
could be you.
Yes, oh yes. The plan is already there. First of all, these political parties, many of them are not political parties. They are political associations, just business organizations. They need to be shut down, I must tell you that.
All right, Hili. Now, let's come to you. You have been in the struggle for quite a long time until recently you came out to say you want to be as president. What propelled you? And now you have an Atiku in the race. Has that changed anything for you come 2019?
No, I have to tell you that I actually love the fact that the two major political parties shot themselves in the foot.
Really? How is that?
This is always what we've always wanted, so that there could be clarity in options for Nigerian people, that you can choose between darkness and light, all right? You can choose between intellect and ignorance. You can choose between the strong and weak, and you can choose between people who are dishonest and people who have integrity. These other parties have also chosen between the old people with old ideas or whose ideas are so old, and we now have a chance to look at younger people with fresher ideas, people who have education, they have integrity, they have exposure, and also they have done something with their lives, who have innovated in this real world. That is why I love it. So I want to have the conversation, and that's what we are pushing for. For someone to tell me in this country that an Atiku that was the presidential candidate or aspirant of SDP in 1992 has got something new to offer. Of course, there's nothing, and he's not even saying that he's got anything new to offer, but he's got the money he stole from you to give you back. And that's what they did in Port Harcourt. They merely went there, he purchased the presidential candidacy of PDP. And then they celebrated.
There was a primary.
Oh, well, when you talk about haggling and, you know, the business of buying and selling, that's what they did there. You know, it was the presidential ticket for the highest bidder. Of course. So, and you saw that, the media covered it, your people were there.
I don't think we should be denying it.
It's not to be denied. Even one of them came on TV and defended it and said, well, we can't do this without collecting money because this is how we survive. But most importantly, is for Nigerians to also start asking themselves, is this how we want to continue? Do you want to continue with a Buhari who has been described as lifeless, or an Atiku who has also been known to be a thief? And I'm saying that
those are strong words.
They are strong words. I don't have a problem with it. You know I'm in the media.
Yes,
you know I'm in the media as well.
Would appreciate if you are careful with.
You know I'm in the media as well, that I've done investigations on these guys. I have that dossier. Atiku, I was the one who did the investigation on Atiku's house, found it in Potomac, put the reports out there before he eventually ran away with his wife. This public information, the man who he bribed, went to jail in the US. They only asked Atiku to come for an interview with the US Department of Justice so that they can pick him on perjury. He ran away with his wife.
We could just hold the thought. We have a caller on the line. We'll continue with the line of thought. Emmanuel, go ahead with your contribution, please.
Hello?
Yes, go ahead. We can hear you.
All right. Please, I want to contribute to what Mr. Nicholas is saying. He said, hello?
Go ahead.
Yeah, he said that Atiku, during the primaries, he gave most of these delegates $5,000 in an envelope and so on and so forth. I don't think he is trying to bribe them. I would say maybe that is a free will donation. He's just trying to support them, which is allowed in a political party.
Okay.
And some of them say that the other man beside him say that Atiku lose money, get money from here and there. I don't think Atiku is a businessman. Everybody knows that. If Atiku is a corrupt politician, I think maybe they could have maybe arrested him, or maybe they can put him on a song. There are so many things that done to this country. So I am supporting Atiku 100%. And most of these people that are saying Atiku is that, Atiku is this, maybe they do not understand Atiku very well. So please and please, we in Adamawa State, we are supporting Atiku 100%.
You cannot speak for Adamawa State. That's not correct.
That's your personal.
You can only speak for yourself.
Definitely.
I did my youth service in Adamawa State, and Atiku is not even popular in Adamawa State. If he was popular, he wouldn't have been having problems, he wouldn't get the kind of support he's getting. That's the reason why he left APC, because he became a popular candidate and went and spent his money somewhere. Atiku is a carpetbagger. A carpetbagger is a person who moves around, an inconsistent person.
All right. And so he being the presidential candidate for the PDP changes nothing for you.
It doesn't. It doesn't. Like I said, usually whenever we produce presidential candidates of the two major parties, there's always some kind of excitement, sponsored excitement, incentivized excitement. Then the media, everything had been planned. Even on Facebook, social media, they planned it. They had their people, they paid them off to say, I think, but you start to see that the nonsense died down because people are asking relevant questions. The age of the currency of politicking now is shifting from money to ideas. Because people who have collected money in the last 16 years under PDP, last 3 years under APC, are asking themselves, am I better? Because even they even had a policy, the post-traumatic infrastructure in the 80s. It's left people worse than they ever, because there's a politics of the esophagus. It goes in your mouth, and by the end of the day, it's gone out of your anus. Is that what you want to continue to do, or do you want to live in a society where things work, where you can have schools, where you can have hospitals that are functioning, where you can have roads that take you to your final destination, where you can be self-sufficient, you produce, and you can eat and sell, you can export instead of importing all the time? This is Nigeria or their dream. Nigeria without roads, without no schools. This is the Nigeria of Atiku's dream. It's of Nigeria of Obasanjo's dream. When students were going on strike, ASU was going on strike, what they were doing? They were collecting universities licenses to own universities that people cannot afford. In Adamawa State, what does Atiku do? He collected the water in the place and he put it in a bottle and he's selling it, Faro water. Is that his water? This is how they change the people, cornered their lives, taking over their businesses, taking over their rights, and they monetize and commoditize it and commercialize it, and then they use the money that they've brazenly stolen from the people to start giving them tokens back. And there are people, some of them intellectuals, who are saying that, well, Atiku may be bad, but he's a better thief. He has become better.
Gentlemen, as a new face of Nigeria's politics, you're coming to change all of this narrative. Absolutely. We'll talk about that when we return from this break. Do stay with us. The media is buzzing with former President Olusegun Obasanjo's endorsement of Atiku. All has been forgiven and foes are now friends. Obasanjo even addressed Atiku as, quote, the president-to-be. But this was despite the fact that Obasanjo is the political arrowhead of the Action Democratic Congress, a party that is also fielding a presidential candidate. Now, I'll start with you, Sowore. What's your take on President Obasanjo's endorsement?
It has no value. I think most Nigerians have seen through Obasanjo's shenanigans and his unpatriotic nature. Obasanjo has been foisting on Nigeria for the longest time terrible presidential candidates and eventually president. He started with Shagari, denying Nigeria of the likes of Obafemi Awolowo. He said he couldn't hand over to Awolowo because he had personal disagreement. His biggest aspiration in life is to be better than Awolowo. And despite being president twice, he has not achieved that, and it hurts him. He's a very wicked and vindictive person. He doesn't like this country.
He's a strong one. He
did it with Abiola as well. He said Abiola wasn't the Messiah. In 1993, he was one of the people who scored him to In 1999, after people thought they had learned his lesson with a bad child going to prison, they elected him. What did he leave Nigeria with? When he was done, he wanted to perpetuate himself in power. When that was frustrated, he brought a dead man to rule Nigeria, Yar'Adua. And that was the same thing he did. In fact, if we are to remember very well, he was calling Yar'Adua on hospital bed in Germany. He said, Umaru, are you dead? The one answer that I'm still alive. They brought Umaru back, knowing that the man is sick and he was dying, imposed him on Nigeria, and the man died in power. Obasanjo denied that he didn't know that Yar'Adua was sick. But he wanted to punish Nigerians for refusing him third term. So he did it with Jonathan. He said, oh, it's time for the minority to have it. And when he didn't have his way, he abandoned Jonathan in his usual very deceitful way and pitched tent with Buhari, endorsed Buhari. And now, having found out that maybe Buhari is not doing his bidding generally, I'm not saying this to support Buhari. Buhari is lifeless, I've said it, and it's well known.
You have to be
strong words.
With your words.
Yes, but you can ascribe that to me. And now he moves on to Atiku. On Atiku, he said that God will punish him if he ever endorsed. And this is how you know Obasanjo. Obasanjo is an opportunist. He's an old man who doesn't wish this country well. He doesn't wish my generation well. And apparently he doesn't wish himself well. And as people will usually tell him, if there is God, he will punish him for what he did. And then, that's if he believes in God.
I need to cut him now, but then he's not the one going to vote. It is for Nigerians to decide.
The question we should be asking is Obasanjo a hero? When he was president, what did he do in Nigeria? I've been seeing all over people are clamoring he has endorsed him. Does that mean Atiku is going to win because Obasanjo endorsed him? Was Nigeria safe in his care? Is there still power now in Nigeria? And he was president for 8 years. So regardless of who he endorsed, it doesn't matter because he never made any impact when he was president. So who cares if Obasanjo endorsed him?
All right, we have Shegun on the line, calling from Lagos. Go ahead with your contribution, Shegun.
Yes, good afternoon.
Good afternoon.
Well, my contribution is that the moderator or the two presidential candidates should just limit themselves to what they have for the nation. They are presidential candidates, and one can see that they are eminently qualified. Stop attacking other presidential candidates. Face your own party manifesto. Sell yourself to the public. Let us know more about you. Yes, you are very young and ebullient people. Yes, we've had much of these old people. What about you, the younger one? Sell yourself. Let us know about you, your manifestos, and what you have for the public. Please stop attacking personalities here and there. Thank you. God bless you.
Thank you, Emmanuel, for your contribution. A question was asked, and I guess it was their reaction to all of those questions. But then, Earlier, before we came to issue of Obasanjo's endorsement, we're talking about you trying to change the narrative of all of this, because, like I said, you are a human rights activist. You are a human rights activist, and your platform has kind of shaped opinions of people over the years. And now, how has that also informed your plans for Nigerians? Looking at all of this that you have been a part of, the struggles you have been a part of, what are you trying to do differently?
So we have spelled out at least a minimum of 10 things we want to do differently. 10, yes. And it must all happen at the same time for Nigeria to reach that point of prosperity, peace, and progress. And the first, we discussed security before. Power, electricity is something that we have to have before we can even start talking about being a nation at all. And because that will energize business, it's not small, but big and small. It will put this country on a different scale and level. Infrastructure, we don't have it. Like, we don't have roads that can take you from one point to the other destination without feeling like you die before you get there. You know, we don't have housing. We're short of 17 million units of housing in this country. We want to build that. We want to be like the Chinese who have what they call ghost cities, apartments that are not occupied. There are 1.2 billion people in China. We want to fight corruption, but it's not the way they are fighting it now. This, decoration of corrupt people depending on where they go. You saw what they did with the former Akwa Ibom governor. The moment he came to APC, he became a saint. You have an economy that is not working because the economy is not geared towards Nigerians. There's nothing, we're not producing here and we don't really have an economy. We just are getting by. We want to have a different kind of political economy. That's why we came about
what
providing jobs,
okay.
Empowering workers. We have proposed a minimum wage that can make workers to have something enough that we can call a living wage.
You proposed 100,000 naira, which you had kind of a little scuffle with yesterday, with another presidential aspirant, where you said 100,000 naira. How realistic, looking at the economic situation, how achievable and sustainable is this?
Not only is it realistic, in fact, it is too small for Nigerians to survive on. But here is how we're going to pay for it. We've looked at the number of federal workers and found that those people who are earning less than 100,000 are between grade level 1 to 12. And there are 17 grade levels in Nigeria and within Nigerian civil service. And we are going to, our tax rate in Nigeria is at 5%, Ghana is 15%. That means we are collecting $25 billion from taxes. We don't need to increase the tax, we don't need to collect them. Now, if we move to 10%, we have $25 billion to us, that's 50 billion. The cost of paying workers this 100,000 minimum wage is just $1.5 billion. Then we want to hire 200 teachers, train them for 6 months and send them out to teach our kids, because education is the most important thing we need in this country at this time, and health as well. We want to hire 160,000 health workers, create the enabling environment for our doctors to come back, the ones that left. And this is going to cost us just about another $1 billion. So we are going to be hovering around $3 billion. You know what the Nigerian economy is? 500 billion. This spending that I proposed to you is less than 1% of the Nigerian economy. And that's what I was battling with.
Let's hear from Nicholas. What you do differently.
Yes.
You said that you want to move Nigeria forward, invigorating the opportunities that have been denied the lower class.
Now, first of all, the only point I will not connect back to security is the point of power. Every other thing we need to connect it back to security. Now, why do I say that? We want Nigerians to start working. There is no government on earth, not Nigeria, not America, not Ghana, who has the ability to employ all our citizens. Then how then do we create jobs? The federal government is not going to employ people because they want to reduce unemployment. Now we need to be able to invite people to build factories. I've always used Kano as a case in point. If you go to Kano, there are factories in Kano. Kanos have great letters that when you hear the word, the name Kano, it should be synonymous to leather, just the same way Italy is synonymous good leathers, good shoes. But nobody will go to Kano to go and build a factory to produce leather shoes, because they know any moment from now, riot is going to break forth and the factory will be gone. So when we fix security, we want to invite, make the atmosphere conducive. Look at Inosu Motors. I'm surprised and I'm still amazed that the federal government has not invited that guy to even loan him money to go and establish more plant to produce cars. Rather, they are fighting to close him. We need to create an atmosphere where we can have people build factories, because that's the only way we're going to create jobs and Nigerians will begin to work and begin to spend. Now, we need to talk about the healthcare. Oftentimes, we see Nigerians dying because they cannot afford it. There's one law I'm going to pass. It will be against the law for anybody to show up in an emergency room and you deny them healthcare because of money. The idea of go and deposit.
So how will you ensure that this is? No,
it's going to be about life is more important. You see, we are not valued in Nigeria. Nigerians can just die and nobody care about it. That's why you see, with all the herdsmen killing, the president cannot even say
your language, please.
I've not said anything bad. I'm trying to be decent and nice. Now, we need to be able to place value for the life of Nigerians. If somebody shows up in the emergency room and they need care, you have no right to be asking them about money. Treat them. If they cannot pay, of course, as an organization, you write it off your tax. The government takes responsibility of it. That's the same way it's done all over the world. So, but life needs to be
private hospital.
Private, it doesn't matter. Whatever hospital, private or government hospital. If somebody show up, instead of allowing the person to die, give them the care that they need. And if the person cannot afford it, cannot pay for it, you write it off your tax. I think we should be protecting lives than money. Now, the idea of, I know the doctors are going to say, oh, how then do we get our money back? Of course, you write it off your tax. I'm quite sure Nigerians will be excited that they can go to the emergency room. I'm not talking about the regular care, I'm talking about emergency room. You know this person is about to die. They are just had an accident. Probably you don't know their family members, there's no trace. Instead of asking for deposit, I think the person needs to be treated. And our military should already talked about it. If you go to a place like America, forgive me to use that example. If you see the way the militaries are treated, you want to join the military and just go and die for your nation. When a military officer dies in the battlefield, if the president cannot go and receive him, the vice president, someone in the federal level must go and receive the body. I just landed at Lagos Airport. I saw 2 military officers. You know, we are conditioned to appreciate them. I said to them, thank you for your service. One of them, the lady said, for what? I said, oh God. For what? I'm thanking you, you're serving our country. The guy explained to him, I said, where I come from. When we see military officers, we appreciate them. They are not valued. We need to be able to put value in their life so they can go there and protect our lives very well.
How about diversifying the economy? What are your plans? Because this government talked about looking into agriculture. What are your plans?
Now, the current government talked about agriculture during his campaign. But one thing I was expecting him to do, forgive me for going there, if you want to really focus on agriculture, you make yourself the Minister of Petroleum instead of Minister of Agriculture.
Would that have changed anything?
No, of course it would have changed. If you're telling us, somebody asked me the same question, how do we reduce dependency on oil? Why don't we focus on agriculture? To me, it doesn't make sense. God gave it to us as a blessing. It's not a curse. So we don't have to reduce the dependency on it. Of course, from the revenues, whatever we generate from them, we can empower the farmers. Now, farmers they use cutlass to go to farm. There are things we can empower them with, little machineries that cost nothing, that we can give to them to increase the fertilizers. We need to be able to have loans for farmers. If you know you want fertilizers, you want things that can empower them. Now, saying you for agriculture, and yet you're not paying attention to it, to me it doesn't make any sense. We are blessed, the weather is conducive for us. From January to December, farmers go to farm. So
do you intend focusing on agriculture or you want to focus somewhere else?
No, we're going to give attention to agriculture. It's what God has blessed us with. We cannot, like I said, the weather is conducive. Yeah. The weather is favorable to agriculture. Why don't we put, focus on that also?
All right. Okay, before we move on, before I come to you, gentlemen, I would like for us to critically watch our language because we have a policy in the station and so we have to be careful with our language, and then the opinions here are the views of our guests, not of TVC, as our viewers watch on. Now quickly I come to you, Sowore. You talked about exporting cannabis as a way of diversifying the economy. Why cannabis?
because it's become the new oil in the international market. And, just yesterday, Canada announced that they will be 30%, they will only be able to supply 30% of their needs, because cannabis is used for medicine. It's not, the part of cannabis that people worry about is called THC. It's the part that makes people high. The rest of it is what has been around forever. And Coca-Cola just signed a deal with Aurora in Canada, $4 billion to supply them, just to study how they can infuse cannabis in their drinks for wellness. So if you have anxiety, you have a Coca-Cola you can drink and it'll calm you down, it make you sleep better. You know, you have epilepsy, it treats it, it helps with treating cancer, and the hemp itself, the tree itself, has fibers that can be used to make clothes. It's better than cotton. In fact, there's been allegations, I mean, historical allegations that the reason why the US criminalized hemp was because the cotton moguls who were great cotton saw them as bad competitors. So the world has already arrived there. You know, South Africa has legalized. Yesterday also there's some news in the UK that now doctors can prescribe cannabis. So what I'm saying to Nigerians is that if we can make $4 billion between Ekiti, Edo, Ondo, and that's Delta, the circle that grows cannabis very well, you don't need to go to the federal government to go and be begging for, because $1 billion is how much? It's about 350 billion. There's no state in Nigeria today that can make 350 billion. I'm just saying, but we could even make way more than that. But the argument is not about cannabis, it's an argument about diversification. That's what style is. It's an argument about health. My own concentration will be how to grow the Nigerian person to become a resource for the country. And I will focus a lot on technology. Right. And you know that the companies that are doing best in the world today are technological companies. Sure. You know, you have Apple, you have Amazon, and there are Nigerians out here who are producing technological softwares. They are part of the game already, but we are not incentivizing them. We don't have, I will appoint, for example, a chief technological officer or a chief innovation officer for Nigeria who can be looking at what young people are doing, because one person, an innovation from a person, can make this country become richer than it. I mean, Microsoft, I mean, Apple's value is bigger than Nigeria's annual GDP. You understand? So just one person took the country to that level. We need to, that's why we keep saying invest in education. Invest in education so that they can produce citizens who can go out there and innovate and compete in the world. So there's a lot we can diversify. Oil is in this economy. In another 10 years, probably there will be less and less cars that are using oil. You know, even in the business of oil, they have shale oil that is easier to get. They don't want to rely on Niger Delta maintenance, you know, and how they affect prices. But at the same time, while we're at it, we need to use that oil resource to diversify our economy. But like you said, we need to be secure. We need to have power. In fact, if we have electricity, we'll be talking about a different economy because of the innovative, you know, power of our people and the fact that they are hardworking. Nigerians are hardworking people, regardless of what you think. They're not lazy people. But we have not provided the enabling environment for people to be productive, people to be innovative. We are not supporting farmers. Yes, we dash out fertilizers, but where do the fertilizers end? They end up with politicians who then resell them. We give loans to farmers. Where do they end up? They end up with political chieftains or party chieftains who then give it to who they want after stealing whatever they can steal.
So be careful. Language, please. I'll keep saying this, please.
It's not a problem. I'm a legal entity. If I say something they don't like, they can sue me. You know, and I will go to court and open book for them.
Thank you. Thank you. We need to quickly move on now. When young presidential aspirants came together earlier to form PACT, a coalition that you both were part of, Nigerians were happy. Alas, it seemed there was light at the end of the tunnel for them. But it all came crumbling like a house of cards. What does this say about the character of an average Nigerian politician, young or old, with respect to the spirit of sportsmanship? I'll start with you, Doctor.
Yeah, I was part of PACT briefly. I wasn't there the first meeting I was there. The second meeting I could not come. My campaign director was there. And the first thing he told me is, "Sir, this looked like a prearranged thing." I said, "Okay." The second meeting I was coming, I actually was talking.
Did he tell you why he felt it looked prearranged?
It was just a group of people making all the decisions. That's what he said. And the second meeting I was going to really attend to see what it was all about. I was talking this time, so I could not make it. So I showed up the last day, and we're in a meeting. I was hoping, I'm coming from a different world. You know, I took time to write my manifesto, the word, the graphics, so I was expecting there to be discussion, not fight. We're young aspirants. I'll be glad to see any one of us get there. But nothing was asked, and I was asking, and things were being drafted, no question was asked. And I tried to put my input. It was just a group of people making all the decisions. And I had to put out the midst of it because it wasn't, the people would have voted. I would have preferred, you know, inviting Nigerian youth. Maybe we all pitching some amount of money, rent a big place, let everybody come, let's present our manifesto, and just make it an open vote for everybody. Then whoever becomes, I will joyfully support. But when it becomes maybe 4 people in one political party, they're all friends, and everybody's going to, if 12 people and 4 people are coming from one place already, you already know who's going to be the winner.
Why did you pull out?
I attended only one meeting. We incorrectly said pulled out. I went there, told them what we should have done, and they rejected. And it was that, so we saw 18 presidential aspirants. Some of them are 4 from a party, like he said. I said, since we're all from political parties that have different, you know, candidates, why don't we go to our parties, become candidates first, and then the candidates can come together and choose one of us, or decide whether we want to work together or not. They disagreed because, like he said, probably was prearranged, and I left the meeting that they respectfully never participated anymore in the activities because they rejected that. I think that was a reasonable thing to do. And now that the whole thing has fallen apart, some of them have come back around again and said, we should start talking. And in fact, as a matter of fact, yesterday I went with Fela to see Professor Wole Soyinka so that we can see, you know, so that we can keep having the conversation. The truth is that we can't do this by fear. We are not under any obligation to join together, right? There's no constitutional requirement that young candidates must bond together. But we can at least work together, we can exchange ideas, we can interact and engage in such a way that young people who are looking up to us can say, hey, you know, this is what I want.
So there is the possibility of pact still happening?
It doesn't have to be packed. There's a possibility that all of us can work together. You know, I would love for Felix to join our party. You know,
and you would love for you to join his party?
I don't think so. He's a good guy. You know, we can have him on our side. I'd love for Fela to, you know, because then the moment we start coming together, we can start looking at competent people to manage the country. Yeah. So there's only going to be one president, whether we like it or not. And the others, if we really mean well for the country, we should support ourselves. And the good news about the younger people today in politics is that we won't see ourselves as bosses and servants. Yeah. So we'll pretty much have a collegiate presidency where the president is a ceremonial position, but everybody is working as if he's a president.
Because
energy.
I like your approach. One of the reasons.
A lot of young people actually, you know, were looking forward to working together, and it became. They were disappointed, so to speak.
You know, a lot of people were disappointed, but here is what happened. The people that went to be part of PACT to the end, they are the ones who will bear the responsibility for what the outcome is. It's not me, who was never part of it in the first place.
Because your name everywhere, but if we see your name.
People would love to use my name for different reasons, and that's fine.
A lot of the meetings were here, you know, and many were not told, you know, many of us did not come out to explain what happened. I'm quite sure if we explain what we saw, everybody will understand you're justified for a reason. He just made a valid point just now that if we come together, whoever becomes the president, we are not servants. That's the key word, you must understand. If I'm going to drop all of this and say I'm going to support you, I want to make sure that my voice is being heard. Yeah. My ideas are not thrown in the corner. A statement was made that actually got me put out. One of the guys asked, if I drop all of this to support whoever becomes the president, will my voice still be heard? And I don't want to mention the name. The statement he made was really appalling to me. Like, if I'm going to drop, you're not better than me for dropping. Yeah. You have your ideas, I have my ideas. I think we should, whoever becomes it, I was expecting you to put everybody together and be able to achieve the same goal, because we all are fighting for the same goal, taking power from these old guys who have refused Nigeria moving forward. So that's it.
And I should add,
because we need to wrap up.
Yes, and I should add, we're talking about statement. One of his statements that got me worried also was one of them said that in choosing the presidential aspirants for young people, we must choose the one that's acceptable to the elders. So I was asking myself, so the elders sent you here to come and choose one person that is malleable to them, and I was really surprised that they said. And I asked them again, is that the correct thing, that you are in touch with some elders who are interested in choosing the young person who's going to be president? And when they said that, they said, yes, I knew I wasn't the person. So I can't work with these elders.
Well, gentlemen, I must thank you for your contributions on the program. That's our package on today's edition of Standpoint. Thank you so much for watching. Remember, you can watch a repeat of this edition tomorrow by 7 a.m. I'm Veronica Danny Boy. Enjoy your weekend.